Creating unique content based on your insights and expertise at scale just got a whole lot easier thanks to this new launch by the Gemini API team. Gemini just made Retrieval Augmented Generation as easy as a simple API call. In this video, I'm going to give you a demo of the RAG application I built with it, share more about what Retrieval Augmented Generation actually is, why it matters, what you can use it for, and how it's different from other techniques. And I'll show you why this file search launch is so valuable for marketing and sales use cases. So this update to the Gemini API is absolutely huge and hardly anyone is talking about it. It needs a lot more hype than it's getting. Here's why this matters. So first off, it makes Retrieval Augmented Generation, aka RAG, a lot faster and easier. You don't need to do as much development or add more tools to your stack. It's all done via a simple API call, just like you do other workflows. So we do already have RAG in other applications, such as Claude Projects, NotebookLM, Cursor, etc. So why do we need this via API? The reason is with this new file search launch, you can do RAG within automated workflows or agents or applications. And I'll show you what that means. And as a quick background before I give you more detail, Retrieval Augmented Generation is basically two parts. One, retrieval, which is you can search your own personal data or knowledge base rather than just the LLM's training data. And then generation. So then you can generate answers or content based on your unique data and insights rather than just the training data. In this video, we're going to be walking through a content repurposing use case where we are going to create articles AIO optimized based on our company knowledge base so that we're creating actually unique, original, valuable content, not just regurgitated AI slop. And I really want to focus in on the second benefit of being able to use RAG within automated workflows and agents and apps rather than just in AI chat applications. The difference between the two is, when you're using an AI chat application such as Claude Projects, it's all human initiated. So you have a human, entering a prompt and doing one task at a time, and then it stops there. What's exciting about workflows and agents is the trigger can be automated. It can be done at scale on thousands of, for example, in this use case we're going with, it could be done on, thousands of keywords at a time. And you can also chain together the calls. The output of that can then automatically trigger and be used as context for the next LLM API call or for the next agent, and so on and so on. So you can get AI to handle much larger workflows instead of just one-off tasks. And here's a quick demo of what that looks like. So, over here we have a list of keywords from Ahrefs, and then it's going to generate the content and then publish the articles. And obviously this could be fully customized, like maybe add a step in here to edit the content or, AIO or SEO optimize the piece, or get a human in the loop to come in and do some editing and so on. So obviously you can customize this, and even the input can be generated. Like I don't even necessarily have to click a button. This could be on a schedule or a trigger bar or some other means. So now instead of having to run these manually one at a time with an app, I can just, have this run, automatically. And here it's just 3, but obviously this could be hundreds or thousands of keywords that you can run this. Very briefly on workflows versus agents before I talk a little bit more of the technical details of RAG and get into this demo that I built. In short, workflows are predetermined steps. The workflow is always doing the same tasks and using the same tools in the same order, whereas with agents, the agent is deciding what steps to take and in what order and what tools to use. You want to use agents when you have a really diverse set of inputs and desired outputs. An example here is like building apps using Cursor, but I think almost all marketing use cases fall into this bucket as well, where you want to do like multi-shot iteration with a human in the loop, and you may want to use different tools along the way depending on what you're creating or how you're creating it. And workflows are still great. There are plenty of use cases when you just needed to do A, B, and C in that same order. So here is like maybe enriching inbound leads using Clay and then routing those leads to like different landing pages or different SDRs or personalizing messaging for them. A little bit more detail on what Retrieval Augmented Generation is and what you can use it for. And a little bit about how this file search API actually works. Instead of relying solely on LLM's training data, you can ground your responses, whatever that response may be. In this case, we're talking about a repurposed piece of content. It can be grounded in your specific knowledge base. So this could be like based on content that you've already created, based on technical documentation, based on interviews with subject matter experts, and just pretty much any like kind of first party data that LLMs don't have access to. And that's really how you create original content. So just compare without RAG, it's only using training data. You kind of get regurgitated slop. There are techniques to avoid that without RAG, which I'll talk about. But with RAG, it's all based on your expertise. And so how the file search works with RAG is basically you create a store, which is the container for your documents. You can upload the files, and I'll show you this in a demo. Those files are chunked and indexed, and then when you ask a question or put in a task request, it is then matched with the content in that RAG database, and then you get your answer based on those, and it will include citations. In other words, like what data within the RAG system it actually used. Some RAG applications that you've probably heard of, Claude Projects, where you can and ChatGPT has an equivalent as well, where you can just like upload a bunch of documents, for example, about a client, like sales call transcripts and their branding and messaging guidelines, and you can then have the chat application use that data when it needs to. NotebookLM, where you can create like interactive podcasts and research reports. And of course, very popular application Cursor, which is doing RAG on your code base and your planning and implementation documents. Why does this matter for marketing and specifically for this content creation use case that we're talking about? I really think about content in terms of two pieces, the substance and the style. RAG, pretty much I would only recommend using it for the substance piece. For, in other words, like inputting the facts, data, knowledge, what have you, into the content makes your content a whole lot more original. Whereas style, you're generally going to want to use system prompts for that. You can use RAG systems to create those system prompts. For example, you might want to put a bunch of examples of writing into a RAG system, and then you can ask questions about that content, about the writing style of that content, and have it reverse engineer prompts for you that way. But generally, I would recommend putting style components into a system prompt rather than relying on a RAG system. Helps to understand RAG in relation to long context prompting. You may be familiar with long context prompting if you're using it in chat apps or within automated workflows or agents that you already have. With long context prompting, you're sending the entire content into a single prompt, and it's going to use all of it. For example, follow-up email writer workflow that writes follow-up emails after your meetings, it's going to use the entire call transcript as the input, and as it should, right? So that's a case where long context prompting makes a lot of sense. Whereas with Retrieval Augmented Generation, it's just going to retrieve exactly what it needs for this task. The input for RAG is basically many pieces of content. Like it might be like your entire library of podcasts, for example. Whereas the input for long context prompting is pretty much just going to be like, the one piece of content, like one video or one sales call recording or one voice note recording or what have you. And so what it looks like in practice, like if you're using an AI chat app and you want to do long context prompting, you would say, it would just be something like, write a blog post about my point of view. Here's my point of view, and you might like type it in or paste that in or what have you. Whereas with RAG, you're basically saying, write a blog post about my point of view about X, and it'll use RAG to figure out what is your point of view about X and then surface that information. If it's in a workflow or agent, you're typically putting that one piece of content, for example, a video transcript, into the user message. Whereas with RAG, your user message is just the topic that you want to write about. Many uses for RAG, such as like chat with company knowledge, anything like that. But I'm going to do a quick demo of creating AIO optimized blog content based on your expertise. And specifically, the case here is I'm going to act as if I'm doing AIO marketing for Fall, the generative media development platform. And I'm going to upload a bunch of their technical documents. Then I'm going to create content based on their points of view and technical recommendations for how to build generative video applications. RAG is especially a good use case for marketing technical products where there can be a learning curve. But with RAG, you can just upload a massive amount of content, and then I, as a marketer, can query that content to learn different topics and create content based on it. So this is just a super simple demo. So I'm just going to upload like 3 documents and pieces of content from fall. Scraping and uploading of documents can be automated as well. I just want to focus on this like RAG content creation piece. The main benefit here is like you could put like hundreds or even thousands of documents into this RAG system to be able to query a very large amount of content or data. So I'll go ahead and upload these. You can see it's uploading. What I'll do is create a blog post with RAG on and with RAG off, and we can see the difference and how it's actually creating like original opinionated content versus just regurgitating training data. Write about how to build an image to video SaaS application, and we have RAG turned on. And I didn't do much prompt engineering to get the style going here. The point of this demo is just, the RAG piece, that substance piece, but we can see it's talking about like models that are available in fall and their perspectives on how to do on how to build these applications. And you can also build in citations, so it will tell you which pieces of content it actually used. So let's clear this out. I'm going to turn off the RAG, and now I'll say the same thing, right? And over here we get another blog post without using that core data. And you can see it's even recommending like different tools and techniques. So I'm really excited about this new file search tool in Gemini API. Mainly because it makes building RAG applications a whole lot faster and easier and simpler, but maybe more so the ability to create agents and workflows that leverage RAG. And I think this can be especially useful for marketing agencies that have multiple clients and they want to be able to upload various forms of client context, such as branding guidelines or strategy decks or maybe past sales call transcripts, and then be able to generate different kinds of content for different clients while using different RAG databases for each client. And also just being able to run these RAG workflows at scale instead of just one-off with a chat app, and being able to include them in like multi-step workflows or agentic workflows. Let me know if you want to build a RAG workflow application or agent. Happy to build it for you. Great for AIO work, SEO work, or for like doing roundups of like if you have like a podcast with like 100 episodes and you want to be able to create like roundup content about different themes. This is a great tool for that.